This is the KoperCrabb Podcast.
I am Cheney Crab.
I am Naveen Copperwise. Coming at you.
Coming at you. If you would like to grab merch from the podcast, then you can hit www.bigcartel.com/KoperCrabb. If you would like to buy merch from ENTHEOS, that is our band, then go to ENTHEOSstore.com. If you have not tuned in yet, we are doing a live happy hour every Thursday. Well, it's not really every Thursday. We kind of say that. Yeah. It's not every Thursday.
It's supposed to be every Thursday.
Some Thursdays on Twitch at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. And today on the podcast, our guests are Cammie and Dobber Beverly of Oceans of Slumber. Cammie's got a solo project. You just put out a new song. Dobber's in Malignant Altar, Necrofier, and Insect Warfare. A man of many bands. So good to have you guys here. Thanks for coming over.
No, thank
you. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Hell yeah.
And y'all are on the Lacuna Coil tour right now. How long have you been on the tour? How many days in are you?
This is show 7, 6 or 7.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a short pickup run for them after Rockville and whatever that Ohio fest that they're doing.
Oh, okay, yeah. So is it like all mostly East Coast this run?
Yes.
That's cool.
Yes.
And how many more days do you have to go?
4 with them.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
That's kind of like, I like tours like that because it's just enough to your way into touring, but you're not sick of touring yet.
Yeah, but it's just it's just few enough that you don't break that the fold of financial coolness.
Yeah.
I like the way you put that.
Yeah, you have to have that
expenditure.
last 2 weeks extra.
Yeah.
Is when you start breaking into like the profit.
I know,
Yeah,
that is
Sucks.
true. Yeah, I know.
Because merchandising is doing extremely well, and
Okay.
That's awesome.
And so once costs are covered, which we've already done that, which is amazing, since we're talking about.
See, for everyone,
Very good.
Yeah, and for people out there who like don't know, when costs are covered, the next day on merch, even you're like, dude, we are in the green. We're making money.
Then it goes like this.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, we can make money off these last 4 shows, and they're like, oh, we hate y'all. And then,
Yeah, the last few shows are extremely crucial.
Yeah, that's true. So has it been a minute since you guys like have been out on tour? I feel like I haven't.
Yes. Ish, right?
we toured with Moonspell last fall, and that was brutal. And that was before that we did a headlining run, and then we toured with Soen. But that Soen tour, I was playing piano and she was singing, and it was a different setup.
Oh wow.
Okay.
Kind of an acoustic.
It was a
Style.
Oh, really?
big like modern chamber style versions of the songs. Since
wow.
I write everything, I can adapt them to whatever. So
Well, that must have been kind of fun to do that.
that was beautiful.
Yeah, it was really cool.
So it was literally just the two of you out on the tour?
And our bass player.
And so what had happened is with the bass player, he's our merch person, and you'll meet him tonight. He's the most incredible merchandise. He's a Turkish salesman. So he's a Turkish salesman. But I explained to him that there's a lot of other things that the bass guitar could do, and so that if we started getting the looping pedals and like like the VST Supermassive and all that, if you start getting in the layering, that we can build like atmospheres, like pads out of the bass, so it'd be more natural instead of a synthesizer. And so then we had 2 months of rehearsals to where I was like walking him through like Jaco Pastorius meets any loop pioneer like Joe Quayle or something.
Oh wow. So it was just you two?
It was me, Samir, adding all of the effects, and he was doing like percussive elements through the bass, so we were having rhythms.
Gotcha.
yeah.
So
That's right. You said your bass player was
Yes,
there.
it was kind of like a like a John Zorn approach to making this kind of music, and it turned into an emotional roller coaster because every night. It was just everybody like dumping their fucking trauma on us. 'Cause, I mean, we write music.
Like ugly crying right in the front row.
Okay.
Oh, that's
So
amazing.
I like
good.
couldn't look down. I'm like, I'm not looking at y'all. Don't look at me. Everyone's just, ugh.
That's really good.
Yeah, I mean, when you get them with crying, that's when you know they're in. You
Yeah,
know, when they're
there's no
crying.
escaping that.
That sounds really cool. I wish I could have seen that. And it's such a cool idea of something to do with a band like your guys's. Like,
Oh yeah, that's why we do this. I mean, that's what
We want to do more of it.
And we're, artsy, or,
Totally.
so it's supposed to be an influence between, like, Deutsche Grammophon, because I have a big, vast classical background, and that's what I'm heavily into, mixed with electronic music, and then obviously a lot of extreme metal. So I do the whole thing, and I try to collect. The only goal with this is like collecting like-minded musicians and artists to be close with, to build my community with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on our last record, we had Carla Kihlstedt, who's one of the most infamous violinist in all of America. Plays with like Tom Waits and fucking Madonna, and then the Book of Knots, and works with the Bungle people and all that. And so working with people like Trevor Dunn and Carla Kihlstedt and all that are people from Jeff Buckley's band, shit like that.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Okay.
what we're trying to do.
That's amazing.
All this other shit's like ancillary, it's like, oh, this is all cool and we get to do the tours and all that, but knowing that the type of music that we make isn't really flavor of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
We have like a lot in common in that way, honestly.
Yeah, I know.
It's
The
kind of
more you-
bizarre.
yeah, the more you say, the more I'm like, wow, we have so much in common, especially because you and Naveen have such. You write all of Oceans of Slumber's music. Naveen writes all of our music. We have a lot in common. You both are multi-instrumentalists who are doing all of that, and it's very cool.
That's probably
Yeah.
why we're here, though.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Of course.
Yeah, then we're kind of the same way. We just like want to make music that we think is cool.
And
And it takes a little bit longer for people to like catch on, I guess you could say.
absolutely.
But I mean, to us, it's worth it. Like,
Yeah.
I tell it to Channing all the time. I'm like, dude, you're the same. We've like been in it long enough to where I've seen so many trends come and go. It's like there's always a hot new trend, and I'm always still here,
Not
just
doing
going
it.
like, okay, that's coming around now. And then now it's long enough to where you see the old trends coming back around again.
Yes,
Yeah.
1,000% have that same conversation all the time.
Yeah,
And then,
it's like
and then in
cool,
knowing
I
that,
guess.
in like the prophetic way, we also know very much that there's a very limited shelf life on this resurgence. I think it's different now
Yeah,
because of the connectivity of this fucking thing, the evil of this garbage device right here.
yeah.
And-
Necessary evil, I guess you could say.
It is. And it's unfortunate though, because now things are. It'll go into unpopular opinion stuff, so we probably don't need to dig into that. yet.
Well,
I think we should dig into
I mean,
that.
one thing about the phone, one thing about things like social media and TikTok is that for bands like both of ours, which I feel like both of our bands can be described in many different genres.
Yeah,
You could throw us under a million different fucking things, but
Yeah.
but prog is definitely a part of what both of us do, I think. And for prog bands, like we don't really write TikTok parts or parts
Right.
that you're gonna put in a 10-second thing and throw it on the internet, and that's gonna be the next, like, oh my god, that person's doing this or making that sound. Or so for bands like us, I think it's a super interesting time to see like where it all goes, because we're not following gimmicks. We're not
Right.
Yeah.
doing the thing.
Yeah, of course.
And bands now, TikTok, the 10-second thing is how bands are gaining popularity. So it's like where does that leave bands who write music not for that?
A much more serious
It
place.
it honestly leaves it nowhere, because we don't do any of that stuff, and unfortunately, you know what I mean? Because I watch your videos, I see your stuff, I watch your videos, and it's one of those things to where, in the deserving side of it, it's like you videotaping yourself and the talent that you have is deserved, right? I think so. Like,
Thank you.
And so then I watch you, and then I see the other people that are doing the screaming videos, and I'm all like, hey, there's one that's an earned level, somebody that's like fucking truly.
Yeah,
your voice
yeah.
is like crazy, fucking brutal.
Thank you.
And well, it's intense the way it's supposed to be. It's meant to be like the blood curdling type.
Yeah,
of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then I see a lot of other people who just the nature of like TikTok and everything else, and it turns everybody else into a heel chaser. And if we have so many heel chasers, then it makes the foam at the top impossible for all of us to really get through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if somebody presents it better, if somebody takes your ideas, which they do.
Yeah.
Somebody takes your ideas and then they're not even perfecting it. They're just good at mimicking. So then the artistry is not there. It doesn't exist, you know?
Or if they're better at just like making viral videos, you know, that's kind of the people that are the most known online. They're kind of just...
What's the Herbie Hancock thing?
Good at doing that.
Yeah, like they're so much more interested in the presentation and the personality than they are in the substance of it.
Yeah, definitely.
So how do we survive from that?
Yeah.
I think with us personally, like we just kind of, you know, we do consider, like we don't consider it when we're writing, but like when we're going through our music, like, oh, that might make a cool part, you know, because like those parts are there if you like dig around.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
You know, so it's like, I guess, I mean, we try to find those little bits that are like, oh, this would make a cool video, you know, type of.
Well, it's working.
Yeah, thank you. But yeah, like with her, it's like all of her videos are just her doing pieces of our songs. Yeah, that's it, and it's just.
Well,
it's worked. It's
Like
worked
that.
for
one
that. You know,
one
like, so we're
part
not,
of
like,
the like vocal thing that I found very interesting, and it happens on all instruments, is the amount of lip syncing that's going on the internet. You know, like so many videos I come across, the person is not doing what they're claiming to be doing
Live.
on video. And it's like, to me, when all of this stuff started, it was people who were trying to show off their skills in order to find a band potentially or do something. And like the prevalence of lip synced cover videos, it's like, I don't know if that means that equals like talent or someone who's a super sick musician. Like,
I didn't see the point. When I realized that's what people were doing, I was like, oh, well, I'm not gonna make a video.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, oh, they're just lip syncing, because then it's like another music video. You just shot it like lo-fi.
Absolutely, yeah. But that is like, that's a negative of it to me, because I don't feel like you would be putting up stuff that's nothing you ever put up is lip
Well, I mean,
sync.
I want it. Yeah, because if I'm re-recording it, it's like I want to hear and see what it sounds like in that new space, or like, okay, it's a Tuesday, I'm gonna do this song. I don't see the point in it being pre-recorded.
I agree.
I totally agree.
I think it's about like something that I always found cool about recording myself is, yeah, I can see how it sounds on Tuesday. I can see how I grow over time, what I need to work on. And if you're lip syncing something, how are you ever going to get better if you're pretending to do something in front of people?
Right. It's like you just gotta practice. Like, you gotta keep singing. You have to keep doing it. So I don't know. It's all smoke and mirrors. That's what social media is.
Definitely.
100%.
But you do come across people sometimes who are just like raw, like with drummers, and it's probably this way with vocalists. I don't follow a whole lot of vocalists. Like, it'll just be like an iPhone camera, and they're just like ripping.
I love that.
And you're like, and it'll have a shitload of views, and I'm like, yes, that is
Sometimes.
fucking sick.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Because you'll have people like that. I mean, you know, and then for me, I'm biased, obviously, but I mean, I'm a fairly educated musician, and I know my stuff pretty well. And like, she is just a different level.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Yeah.
She's like the thing. She's really like, you know, and the reason why there are people like crying and committing themselves and doing all that is because she's like the element, like.
Yeah.
And it gets back to the magical factor. Like, you're talking about being able to just, like, you should be able to just sit down and play something that's inspiring as a musician. You should be able to improvise. You should be able to do these things, you know. And with you, and the same thing for me is, I can sit down with an instrument and play something that's compelling.
Yeah.
Because I've spent my entire fucking life being able to do that. I'm not playing music to be popular. I'm playing music because it like it's intrinsic to my being. You know?
Yes.
It's a bodily function.
Yeah.
Yeah. Naveen says that all the time.
Oh, I'll be dead if I wouldn't
Have to do it.
Same.
Yeah.
And it's like, sometimes I'm like, I wish that I didn't feel like I have to do this all the time. Like, it's sometimes it's like the tortured artist thing. Like, I feel like I have to get this fucking thing out. Like, and why? I wish that I could just like, I don't know if it's normal, but like, be normal and just sit around and watch TV and not be worried about this, you know, getting it out. Yeah.
Oh, we're definitely like that. Like, I feel mad at myself level. Like, I could do anything else. Like, why can't I do
100
anything else? And it's like, I feel compelled to sing, but the way I always thought about singing is like, it's to comfort people.
Yeah.
Like, you sing in church to comfort people, and then you sing to like babies to make them go to sleep, or like old people to calm their nerves, that it was never, I never thought about like being a performer until I met him and joined the band. And it's like I had one band before I got in Oceans, and it was just like for fun, because I sang all the time in my apartment. My roommates were like, get in a band, like we're sick of you singing in the shower. And so I was like, yeah, cool. And I sang growing up, but it, like I said, it was for us and like for myself and for my family. And so when I still don't think of myself as like the voice that people say I am, it's more just like, well, am I connecting with people? Like, do they feel something? And is this enough? Like, are you getting what you need when you hear the song because you're sad or terrible shit happened, you know?
Yeah.
And so I don't really think of it as like, my voice is so great, it pleases your ears. It's more like,
well, you probably shouldn't think
I
that,
hope
but
it's satisfying and makes you feel better, and that the song conveys the emotion it needs to, because like that's what you need out of it. Not, you don't need me to just be like pretty and sound good. Like you need the message that like wherever this is coming from to touch what you need.
Yes.
And so that's it. All the new way of marketing is so anti how I approach it that it's just constant friction.
Yeah.
To where I'm like, should I even still be doing it if that's the way that people have to do it now? Because it's not how it feels to me.
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. And this goes back to the like lip syncing thing. This is why I love seeing bands live more than ever now, I think, because so many bands do not sound live the way that they sound on album. And I don't, it's the antithesis of being an artist, of creating and being a band. Like I grew up on live performance. I originally loved playing metal live. Like that's what I fucking love doing. And if a band is putting all of this shit on record just to be like the fast band or the band with the crazy this or the, you know, singing and or whatever that they can't do live, then it doesn't have that same, it doesn't reach the emotional place for me that you're talking about. And I think it's really important to like, I think that those bands do still shine through. You go and see a band and you're like, this band fucking kills live. And there are still bands like that.
I mean, it shines through like even on Instagram, like what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's why I think it's not, I don't think you should get discouraged by it. And I think more than ever, we need people that are passionate about it for
like
the right reasons to keep going.
Honestly.
You know what I mean?
Painfully passionate about it.
Yeah, you know, I wouldn't
cry
like,
all the time.
I think like,
Girl, you and me both.
That's awesome.
Today.
You know, and I think a lot of people that feel the way we do do become kind of discouraged about it.
I think so too.
But for me personally, I'm just like, well, I should just adapt, because I remember when I was in Animosity, like my first band, like the YouTube drummer thing, it wasn't a thing, and I remember when it started happening, and I was like, man, that's so stupid. Like, why would you just go see a band live? You know, like this.
I'm still there.
Yeah, you know, definitely. And I am there in a way, but it's like, I think for me personally, I try to find a way to kind of ride the line of like, yes, my main thing is just like, my favorite thing to do is just to be in my bedroom making music. Like that's, I'm 100% like satisfied when I'm doing that. But that's, you know, not going to get the bills paid, just me being weird in a studio. So it's like the reality of life is that I have to figure out some way to promote the music. So I think finding a way that feels genuine to you to do it, it has been like really helpful for me and Cheney, and it's really helped our band.
Yeah. It was honestly at first I was of the mindset like, this is so stupid. Who is going to want to watch me put up videos of myself screaming on the internet? Like it seemed like the dumbest thing ever to me. But Naveen and I, honestly, we forced ourselves to like it. Like
it's like, okay, let's find
ourselves.
some way to feel good. Like I'm not going to compromise myself. We find some cool way to put something out that I think is cool in a 15-second format.
It feels invasive to me.
Oh, I know what you mean, yeah.
And there's no amount of it that I could do to make it work in my head. For one, I have two thought processes. Is like in one side, you have to be the self-aware, and you have to be like, you know, I'm good at this stuff, you know. And it's like if I look at myself and I look at the body of work or whatever the fuck, or whatever means something to somebody, and then I'll be like, I'm really good at these things. I am, and I know that. And then the other side, that's like the 51%. It's like nobody wants to watch me do this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I can't. It's so disingenuous for me, because I feel envious of people who are like, you know, I mean, because you're legit, you're a phenomenally good drummer, you know. And I watch that, and I'm all like, yeah. And when you put up a bunch of like not edited footage, and you're like, yeah, that's how it's supposed to be. It's how you sound playing. It's what we're supposed to be doing, right?
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be, oh, I fixed everything, and it's like, okay, well then play until you do it right. Don't fix it, you know. And that goes back to the thing about watching a band live on stage, to where obviously everything about the band has been fixed, you know. You see that. And so whenever I get into those things, I'm like, look, I'm not going to set all my stuff up, and I'm not going to videotape it, because I'm more focused on making sure that I like deliver this thing correctly for the sake of it, for the magical factor, you know, versus that I go in and like, I'm going to make a video of me playing. And for me, it's like, nobody's interested in seeing all that stuff. And then when I go out on tour with all these fucking dudes now I'm starting to get plugged for knowledge and everything else. I seen you put up a thing talking about swivel.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, I've got a whole thing about, I just went on tour with a gang of fucking dudes, and they were all asking about the swivel thing.
Yeah.
And it's all of these methodologies that I have. We play, and there's like the synergistic ways of how you link the body with playing, because I play really like powerfully. And who the fuck was it? There's somebody recently, and I was like, whenever you think about throwing a single stroke, right, where does it come from? And they're like, oh, it's from here to here, and they do the thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, then that means you tap like this, right? Yeah. And you're supposed to tap like this. Yeah. So it comes from your shoulders, and it's called the Taubman method. It's a piano thing, and so the power of it is generation from the center of the body. Is the Dave Ellich thing, you know. It's so the neck to the shoulder girdle, and then that's where the power's at. So now all of a sudden you've got full 127 MIDI stroke on a fucking drum head, and so you're getting all that kind of stuff, and you're like, yeah, but I don't want to put that on video with the performance side of it, because then I'm all like, well, I'm concentrating on the performance side of it, and what I'm doing is what I'm. The outcome of this is going to be worth whatever, and I can't rectify those two things.
I don't know. I'm hearing some video ideas that I want to see. I would have liked to see that.
Listening to you talk is making me realize that I'm bummed that this generation of TikTok or social media could be turning people like you guys off to putting all of this knowledge on the internet, because you're so knowledgeable. Like, you are the voices that we should be
hearing. You do have some drum videos, and they're sick.
Get a video of him.
But
dude, I get it.
Like, when I was watching some of your videos today, and I'm like, this guy's fucking sick. Like, with the double bass stuff, you know, it's powerful, it's solid.
And
that like, sticks out because everybody else is so.
But it's a caught in the wild thing. You know what I mean?
A what?
A caught in the wild. It's like the videos that I do have are from people that know me, and they're like, dude, you need a drum video. And I'm all like, you can videotape me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to set the fucking thing up, because
that's cool.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
Because if I do it, it's going to fail, you know. And if I think about it, nobody wants to watch me play. If I think about it, you know?
Dude, I know. Yeah. It's like the you should and the negative self-speak thing. You know what I mean? Because
it's not that. It's not playing into. How many times do you guys look at analytics? You know what I mean?
So I don't ever look at it.
No, yeah.
Like, you're never looking at the numbers. You're never looking at Spotify.
Oh, numbers? Okay, I look at those for sure. I have.
And so then,
I mean, if I don't get a certain amount of plays on my video, I will lock myself in the bathroom for 3 days.
Cry in the shower.
Yeah, just it's over.
It's fighting that need for. It's like we need viability. We need to be acknowledged as part of the ego of this whole thing.
Yeah, of course.
And the ego, what's the best way it's put? Ego is amazing when it gets the job done. It's terrible when it's like, everybody pay attention to me.
Yeah.
And so then trying to skate that line, it's all like, I don't want to fall into, I get the job done. That's what I do. And I don't want to fall into like, hey, this is not doing as well. Holy fuck, I'm going to pull my hair out.
Yeah, I mean, I try to zoom out and just look at it like, I have a page and I just like put stuff up on there, and it's like sometimes stuff does better than others, and like, but I'm not comparing myself to like the amount of views that, I don't know, whatever the most famous guy gets. It's just like, oh, cool, that's getting some views or not. It doesn't matter. I'm like, it's the same with your music. If you make something that you feel good about, then you feel good about that you made it.
Right.
And then like, it's funny that you were talking about like the perfection kind of side, like you want it to be a certain way. Like that video that I put up, that swivel one, like it's not good. Like if you just hear it on its own, it's like, I was literally showing Shani last night, because I don't even really know how to do that technique at all. I've been doing it for like 1 week, you know, and like
a month. 1 month and you'll have it.
Yeah, a month. So 1 week I'm like, okay, it's kind of there, and I'm like, well, I want to post something, so I was making it last night, and Shani was like, yeah, it's pretty slop, you know, and it's like
it does not.
And then I was like, you know what, dude, fuck it, I'll just put it up anyway, and it's like, I'll just put it up, and it's like, hey, I'm learning how to do this. It's not perfect, but no one's on there like, this sucks.
It's accountability too, though, for the self. You'll put it up, and you'll be like, well, now I have to take the necessary steps, or I've quit.
Yeah.
You know,
for
and
sure.
It's like badass. That part about it's cool.
Yeah,
but why the swivel thing?
Because the power.
But you were working on doubles. You're still messing with doubles.
Yeah, I am. But that's the stupidest, worst technique ever. And I've always said it's stupid.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've always been like, this is so dumb. But
you're gonna sacrifice the bass drums use.
It sucks
to play fast.
Yeah, it's like a trick. It's a trick
like
to trick your triggers into doing a faster hit. And like, I get it. Like for me, I was always like, well, I'm just not where I want to hit these faster speeds. So it's like, I'll just learn how to do that real quick. And then, because that was like in 2020. I mean, I always played fast, obviously, but I was just kind of like hit a wall, I guess you could say. And then I did that, and I'm like, it works, but it's not fun to do. It doesn't sound good, like without the triggers. It doesn't sound like anything.
Yeah.
And then so recently, I was just like, we saw the drummer. I don't know if you know who Matt Kilner is.
Of course.
Yeah, like I saw him play a couple nights ago, and I was already like, man, I got to get off this doubles shit. And then I saw him play, and I was like, okay, I'm never doing doubles again. Fuck this.
There is something.
I was like, I'm a poser.
There is something about delivery that's important as a drummer.
Totally.
Like, and I hate watching these fucking deathcore guys that are like, doing, they're doing taxes in their fucking head while they're playing. Like, there's no fucking effort in them playing. And it's all like, look, I get technically that you got this down, but like, you're not selling the fucking show by being so comfortable.
Yeah. I don't feel it.
You look fucking dumb up there.
Yeah.
Because the guy's like chewing gum and like, oh, check me out, I'm doing all these doubles and shit. And then you'll watch a guy that is like laying into it, and it sounds different and it looks different and it
sounds way different.
It's kind of like how you're saying
the light feather playing and the like. Yeah, they're not moving around. Like, dude, when I watch a drummer, I love watching drummers. And I want to see a performance. I want to see someone hitting that shit hard as fuck and, like, being into it and headbanging. And it doesn't
hitting
always...
as hard as they can with what they're playing. And it's like what you're saying. It's all like a synergistic thing.
Yeah, of course.
And I mean, I'm not saying anything about, like, people who do doubles or, like, the, shitty. I've been doing them forever. There's probably a couple parts that I'll still have to do it on. But I'm going to, I just miss that, like, the vibe is off with it.
I think it's, there are dudes, Longstreth and all that stuff.
Yeah, of course.
And they're it's mystical, weird
it's absolutely
art.
Amazing.
Yeah.
But it does take away, it leans into the circus side function of drumming to me versus what I grew up with, like Billy Cobham and all that stuff, and I see it as, point specific. It's just for playing fast. But then you see a guy like Matt, and you see that, and you're like, yeah, cool. Right. Like, this is,
damn.
This is selling it. What I do miss out of drumming is facility, though. What we're talking about is a lot of point specific techniques. It's like people that just sit there and fast double bass, people that just sit there and fast blast.
Yeah.
But the rest of the drum set is completely fucking neglected, right? So it's at that point it's just singles and doubles, and there's no use of rudimentary playing on kits. So none of the flash is there anymore. The guys aren't able to fucking run around the drum kit like they used to, And that's the part that I'm like, that's what's missing for me out of that. I hate guys that can't play the kit. And it's all like, just put the 2 drums up there and play the fucking thing.
Yeah.
Because there was a whole phase of time, remember, there was no floor toms. Deeds of Flesh in the early 2000s, like every one of those California like tech bands, they just had rack toms.
Yeah.
And they took everything away, and I'm all like, damn, man, like this is fucked up. Like the soul of the kit's missing.
Yeah, I actually saw Dying Fetus in 2001, and it was just rack toms, and I was like, okay, well, whatever. I was like 15, so
It was weird. It's a weird time.
Blew my mind.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's been fun, and I think. I think as long as you're just genuine with it, you know what I mean? That's like really what it's all about, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure.
And like, I always just try to be honest with everything I'm doing. So it's like, hey, I'm working on this. It's not perfect. Check it out. And people, I think they do resonate with that.
Well, I do. I think it also gives people like kids who could be watching that stuff, or people who aren't as good at something watching that stuff, something to aspire to, because it's good to know that people you look up to aren't always perfect at everything they do the minute they sit down to do it, that they're actually practicing and working on things in order to facilitate being really good at drums. It's not just something that it's overnight for people. So putting a sloppy video up on the internet, it gives a kid who's kind of sloppy the chance to be like, wow, maybe I can like play like Naveen. He's sloppy. I can just work on this and figure it out.
Do I even want to hear things be perfect? I've been thinking about that lately. Yeah. It's like all the drummers and music that I like, it's not perfect. Right. It's like got groove and it's all like kind of off and like John Merriman. I don't know if you ever liked him. Like, yeah, that's not something you could program. It's just like this weird drumming that sounds cool, and it's like, okay, well, I'll just play how I play, and that's good enough. Whatever. I'm not trying to be perfect anymore.
So I saw John. So I was in a band called Infernal Dominion. Old tech. It's like one of the original TXDM bands. It's like super evil death metal. And so it was like Devourment, Prophecy, Infernal Dominion.
Sick. I'm gonna check it out.
And then post Infernal Dominion, we had a really fast tech death band that had all the same guys in it called Brace for Nails. Well, anyways, those 2 bands used to play with Cephalic all the time. Used to book them. Used to do all of that stuff.
Hell yeah.
It was like Regurgitation from Ohio, Cephalic Carnage, and then we would meet up. Because the year that the Hyperblast started, it was Cryptopsy had done, not Cryptopsy, Cataclysm had done it with Temple of Knowledge or one of those records. But there was a thing called the Dallas Grind Fest, and that's where Wicked Innocence, Cephalic Carnage, and all these bands like absconded upon, and it became the Hyperblast. Like it all started there. Okay. Crazy, right? Yeah. Super crazy.
Yeah, I believe it.
And so John and I became friends. Mike Hamilton was playing in Vile and hadn't joined Deeds of Flesh yet. And
okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh, and he was incredible in Vile.
Okay. Yeah, I used to really like that band.
Fills and all that stuff. It was great. Yeah. Well, anyways, so then from that point on, John and I were buddies, and this was like 1999, 98 type of stuff. And so he did his thing. We played a lot of shows together, festivals and everything. And we'd always talk about the push-pull stuff. We would always talk about these techniques way back in the day. And John disappears. And we played in Austin last year with Midnight, I think. One of those tours. It was Midnight or Goat Whore. My black metal band, Necrofier, was out there. Across the way is this shitty dude bro bar. Fucking bald-head asshole walks across the way to say hi to Ben, and he turns and looks, and he's like, holy shit, like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, what are you fucking doing here? It's John Merriman.
Okay.
And he's in town for a construction.
When was that?
This was last year. Nobody had seen him in a while. I talked to Steve occasionally when we toured through Colorado. Uh-huh. And John Merriman just pops up, and he gets super fucking drunk, and he comes and watches the whole show. He stands side stage watching me play and shit. He's like screaming and hollering at me, like
he's got a return, dude.
He's doing that sick drummer thing.
Yeah, that podcast.
Yeah, I haven't. Yeah. I saw his face on there. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing?
Because I know. I was like, I'm gonna watch that.
He was like the original death metal tech guy. Was considered that. Because all of his little bell work and all that shit. And so everybody would always trip out about it.
So sick. I mean, that was, to me, that was like cephalic sound.
Yeah.
Was that drumming.
Yeah.
You know?
It was fun.
And it's really, I think there's a lot of newer bands that try to sound like him. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with any of like the Indonesian death metal bands and stuff. Like they all sound just like John. Like the feet are like kind of not perfectly going like 16ths. It's just like and then like with the faster hands up top and like the super cranked snare and just like I don't know. That shit's just so awesome. And like I talked to him a few times because Animosity used to play with Cephalic. Yeah. Actually, we played with them in Texas at this really small bar.
I remember the tour.
It was like we weren't on the tour, but we played. We just got added. Yeah. It was like Cephalic, maybe Misery Index, and Kill the Client. Remember that band?
I remember that band.
And we got added to the show. It was like this really small bar, and I got like super drunk and watched Cephalic, and it was just like I don't know. I just really like that band.
It was fun.
Well, they're amazing.
It was a fun band, and we've had a lot of really late night, too much to drink, too much to smoke nights with those dudes in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, they're always fun. Actually, the band version, there was a band called Gun Dealer that we had. It was an improv, like grindcore band, so noise grind. And Josh from Cephalic was in it, and that was the precursor to Insect Warfare.
Okay.
So Uphill Battle and Cephalic were touring together, and they played a little, the same place that you're talking about.
It's like this little bar. I just don't remember.
Wait, when Danny was playing for Uphill? Wow, that's crazy.
Because he was in that Crematory, another band.
Yeah.
But yeah, Danny was in Uphill Battle, and it was one of those things that was badass back then because this whole love your brother type shit that goes on these days is there's a bit of competitive camaraderie that we need to succeed. Mm-hmm. You need to be pushed, and you need to see people that fucking like whoop your ass, and you're like, fuck, I'll step up or leave,
Totally.
And so whenever you would play with people like Danny or John or Richard Christie playing with fucking Incantation, like I saw that live with him reading sheet music to the Incantation.
That's so
super
sick.
crazy. And you'd see that, and you're like, oh, I got to outdo this guy. I got to figure out how to be as good as this dude.
Yeah,
I know.
I love that.
That's how I felt the other night. I haven't felt that way in a while. And I was like, all right, man,
I'm about to
go home.
I'm about to tour with him.
With who?
Yeah, with Matt, which an undisclosed tour that's coming up.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I think about it, and I'm all like,
super cool guy.
I watch him. I don't know him like that.
I just met him the other night. I punished him.
Well, I watch it. I watch the videos and all that, and I'm all like, well, my days of trying to play 300 BPM, I'm not that worried about anymore. And it's like, well, I'll just have to compete with that guy in other ways. You know what I mean? Like, I've got the other part down enough. I can just deal with that.
Yeah.
But then I watch that, and I'm like, holy fuck. And it makes you feel like, you can do one more go around.
I know. And I love, to me, that is my favorite feeling. Yeah. I love when I watch a band, and I'm like, I'm jealous.
Me too.
I'm jealous.
I love being jealous of bands.
You love being inspired.
Precisely.
That's what's beautiful about it. And we don't get a lot of inspiration anymore.
That's true.
Because you get a lot of bands that are just production. Mm-hmm. And they get on stage, and if the tracks go away, the band goes away.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you have to, like, dig. That's what I've noticed now and lately. And I spend actually a lot of time doing that just, like, as a hobby. Just, like, digging through death metal bands on Spotify or Bandcamp or whatever. And they're out there. They're not online as much, so you have you got to dig around to find it. But there's ways of doing it, like
there are.
When we were younger, I would just buy a CD like that looks cool. Let me check that out. So I'd say it's a little better now that you don't have to do that, but it is really saturated.
It's weird. But it also gets into it feels better now that there are more women playing.
Yeah, 100%.
It's really awesome. Really awesome.
There's more women at the shows, so the shows are better looking.
Yes.
Totally. And more people.
I mean, even since I was a kid, it's like when I was coming up, there was Angela Gossow, Kitty. There were a few, like Crisis was a huge inspiration to me. Like This City, there were women around, but now it's like women are going on tour together. You guys are on a tour with 3 women vocalists, and you were saying you did one last year. It's like Stabbing, all of these crazy sick women in bands are coming around, and it's just cool to see. It wasn't
so much better. So much better.
Well, and the next thing that I'd like to see out of it, which I don't know that we get to see that so much. I'd read an interview with Alan from the band Primordial, Irish band, crazy good, like dark metal band. But But he was listening to like Cult of Luna. It was one of those like Metal Hammer where he bitches about the song. You know, you listen to Shane Embury listens to 15 songs and responds.
Okay.
And he heard a Cult of Luna song, and the guy's just that mid voice screaming, and he's like, "For fuck's sake, like start singing! Like you've been screaming for 15 years. Like learn how to fucking sing."
Yeah.
And as heavily as in all the other stuff that I am into and we're into, I'm more heavily into vocalists, like singing vocalists, like the screaming and the delivery, the harshness. That's all great, but I've been surrounded by that for 25 years.
Yeah.
I get it.
And so on the other side of it, it's like the delivery of like this elegant delivery of like because the most basic like God-given talent you can have is your voice.
Yeah, 100%.
And if 1 in 1,000 people are born with like a singing voice or less than, we're not given a lot of space to that. And, you know, and it's an aggressive time in music. It really is. There's a lot of like hard, fast music, and that's what's getting big. And the hard part has been getting somebody like Cammie at the forefront whenever there's so few bands let through with great singers.
Yeah.
And a lot of the bands are just production. They're not great singers.
Yeah,
Oh,
100%.
of course.
Especially in the vocal department.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
It's
so
like
so getting
robots
getting the emphasis on like the true talent, because we all sit around and we've guitar centered music to death to where people like, I just watch drumming videos, I just watch shred videos and do this stuff, and you're like, well, these are learned things, these are things that you can pick up. Doesn't mean you have a voice, because you can learn to mimic guitarists and drummers and everything else, but vocalist, you can't learn the birthright of your vocal cord, you know.
100%.
And so getting
that they could.
Cammie thought everybody could sing.
She actually has a
Me
course coming out for that, actually.
No. I have no concept of teaching people how to sing because I didn't learn to sing, question mark.
Yeah.
Like, I can't explain anything how I do it.
Yeah.
I'm like, you just make the sound. It's like, I'm a mockingbird. Like, I heard the sound, and then in your head, you envision the sound, and then you make the sound. That me trying to teach anybody in the band to like just do this, and they're like, do it. It's like I'll end up explaining things in like analogies versus technique. Mm-hmm. And like pretend like I was like, we did a live recording on the new album in the studio, and our new guitarist had to sing some parts, and he has a very like boy band voice when he goes to sing clean, and I was like, why are you doing it that way? And he's like, because it's soft, and I was like, that's not soft. I was like, sing it like you're singing it like in your girl's ear versus singing it like to a crowd of girls. And he's like, I don't know what you mean. I'm like,
that's funny.
Like,
I know
whisper
exactly
it a little bit.
what you mean. I know exactly.
I was like,
what
it
you're
needs to
talking
be
about.
like softer, like wispier, and he's just okay, I think I get it. And I'm like, I'm a terrible teacher.
Well, that's why I don't know if this happens to you, but people will ask me to give them vocal lessons a lot, and it's just like, dude, I'm not like a teacher. That's not what this is.
Yeah, I'm like, and I don't understand what they want. I'm like, you sound like you sound.
Yeah.
So if you talk normal, you should. This is not right. I've been scolded about my idea, and I don't know. I hate if it sounds like pompous or like whatever. Disclaimer. But it's like, if you talk normal, you should sing normal. If I say look and then I say look, like that's singing. That you shouldn't be like, I talk like this and then I sing like this. You don't sound like, why would you do that? Yeah. But I don't know what they're thinking or how their body works, and I can't help them. So then
what's the next?
We're going to get lessons.
It's the next thing to being naked, though.
Yeah.
So if you
it's my worst nightmare.
Right.
Worst nightmare.
Right.
It's
Of all
also
time.
it's also more intimidating too, because I've started singing recently. You know, we've kind of like, you've started screaming recently, and I've started singing. Singing in front of people is way more naked than screaming in front of people.
Oh, yeah.
I can get out. I'll scream all fucking day, like whatever. But singing is so like, it's just an even more of like a window into my soul. I feel like it's just really, you're bearing it all when you're singing in front of people.
Well, I can see that. It's like I take it like I'm channeling, and it's like, you don't see me, you see like the beyond. I was like, I don't know where it comes from. It's like I literally sometimes feel like I'm just a channel.
Yeah.
And I open my mouth and I was like, it's coming out nice, like it's coming out like that feeling's tied in. I see it, that guy crying, like it's working, and in my head I'm like, I don't know what I sound like. I don't know what this is. And I'll listen to recordings and I'll be like, that's what everybody said was good, so I guess it's good. Yeah, it's like when you say a word too much and you're like, watermelon, like, water, but like, am I saying it right?
Really a word?
And so when I hear how I sound, it was like, there's no such thing as like a perfect voice.
Yeah.
Totally.
You can hit a note just right, but it's like Mark Lanigan sounds vastly different from Luther Vandross, but I love both their voices so much. And so I can't be like, well, it's like Luther Vandross is a more versatile, dynamic singer, but Mark Lanigan has just as much soul and is emoting just as much. It's subjective, and it's like, am I getting out of it like what I want and what I need and their storytelling?
Yeah.
And so it's like, I'm never satisfied with my voice, but I also fully recognize that I couldn't tell you what would have been the perfect take or what would have been the perfect like thing to do. I'm never like, this is just great and I sound so great. Like I don't think I sound good most of the time.
Yeah.
It's like, and I don't like hearing, I hate being in this, I hate when we're playing back something and over again in the studio, like makes me want to vomit. Am I screaming now?
No, you're good.
My volume control. I also have terrible volume control. And so it's like,
I drive a Dodge Stratus.
and so I don't like hearing my own voice.
Mm-hmm.
I listen to our songs when we have to tour and practice them.
Yeah.
The only songs I like, and because I don't hear them as me, are the songs from Starlight and Ash. That I feel like I enjoy as a fan, the songs that we wrote, because it came from such a different place where we were just tapped into something like just so much more expansive.
Yeah.
And then
like artist.
And we didn't dwell on those songs a whole lot. I feel like they were written, they were done, they were recorded. We got time away from them, and then you hear them finished. Versus sometimes when you write other songs, you hear them 1,000 times, or it was reworked or something, and that just drives me crazy.
Yep.
Yeah.
I feel like the best stuff that we've ever made, it's just like you just go in and just like boom, there it is.
Yeah, it's the vessel thing. You feel like you're a vessel. You don't know where the song came from. You don't know where any of the parts came from,
Right.
and afterwards you're like, am I the person who wrote those lyrics? Like, I can't even relate to that.
That's another really good feeling.
Yeah.
You're like, whoa, I'm on that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's when it's the best.
I'm just happy to be here all the time.
But much like, I don't know if you, Steve Albini, he just died.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I know who that is. Not a huge
follower of the show.
Yeah.
But Steve Albini, I love a lot of the stuff he's done. Like I grew up with and I'm a huge Neurosis fan. Like I love that stuff. But he said that I've done this so much that this problem that you face, I've faced 100 times, and this thing that I could tell you that you can't, right? And that in the dynamic that you guys have, you have somebody that's very experienced, right? And so for you this is where time is the only thing. You can't buy experience. You can't buy time. You can't buy anything.
Yep.
And the only way that you can make art, if you get to the point of being able to make music spontaneously that's good, well, then you've hit the crest, right?
Yeah.
So it's easy for me to create. It's easy for me to make this thing, and I can doctor up and move on versus sitting and perfecting, because that kills everything about it, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what she said, like, I'll deliver the entire finished record to her and then say, all right, here are the names of the songs. Here are some lyrics that I've got or ideas, and now you go. And then she just sits with them and finishes them, and then she'll get stuck in her head about it, like, oh, this, or I've got to do that, or I've got to do this. And I was all like, do it and move on.
Oh, that sounds pretty familiar.
Sounds way
actually.
familiar, especially when it comes to lyrics. I'm so obsessive.
Just throw it down, man.
That's what takes me the longest. I can go do patterns and write melodies for the record. I could do it all in a week. Lyrics, I will just sit and fucking obsess over I would do it for 5 years if someone gave me the time to do it. Just because I'm such a perfectionist when it comes to like words, and if this line's gonna make sense with the last one, if anyone's going to know what the fuck I'm talking about, like,
Right.
and I'll drive myself insane. I'll sit in my office in the dark and be like, freaking out over it and crying. There's not a record that goes by where I don't cry a few times.
Oh, that's amazing, because I tell her it's a violent birth.
Yeah.
I was like, he
Yes.
gives me the songs, I take them, and crawl away and go into my corner, and it's all.
Yep.
She becomes impossible, and then I'm like, and then
It's turbulent.
Then it goes back to the thing where if the moment that you break that you've written 100 songs, then maybe inside you say, I can trust this process. I can trust myself, and I don't have to obsess over it. Because I'm good at what I do. Move on, you know. And
Totally.
And that's where
I don't ever get to that.
It's
like, I'm good at what I do. Those words
I haven't gotten
never
there
entered
either.
the chat.
I hope it comes someday.
You've gotten faster at turning around things, and that does mean that you're getting it. And that's
I've learned, but I've learned to trust his feedback more than my current moment of turmoil.
Jenny, you should
Wow.
do that.
Weird.
To where it's like I won't feel better about it, but he's like, do I lie to you? Would I lie to you? And I'll be like, no.
We're the
And
same.
I accept where the song is at, and then after I sit with it and take a step back from it, I'll be like, okay, it is satisfying. Like, it is good. It's gonna, like, it's getting out what I need. My favorite songs are ones that he writes the lyrics, and then because he won't give me like the full, like, here's the lyrics for the whole thing, but it's like he gives me a snippet of like the idea he wants, and then it just like lights up and the branches grow, and I can, like, those songs always, I feel like, come together so much easier than he's like, well, this is the idea, like, you come up with everything, because then it's like, well, I'm trying to tell this story and this has to loop back, and it's like, what word, and it's all
I'm like, no one's gonna notice. They
Especially
don't
with
care.
opening lines.
care.
Like, I'm always like, this opening
Sorry,
line.
but
Yeah,
they
no
don't.
one cares.
What they
don't
care
actually
about?
care.
See, I'm actually a good person to ask, I feel like, because I really like vocals and vocalists, but I can't really tell you why. It's just like the vibe, you know? Like, they have to, I feel like the vocalist's job is to do vocals, but it's also to kind of just present the music as like like embodied.
Yeah, there's orator. They're the orator.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because not very many people like care, like, oh, dude, the drummer's got like a splash symbol, or you know what I mean? Like that.
Well, they
Yeah.
do care about those things, but they can't pinpoint
know
those
why.
things as much as they can
Right.
pinpoint
The
a
vocalist
vocal.
represents everything.
Yeah.
And so it's like, my favorite vocalists are just people that have a cool vibe. You know, they're not, and I think that's actually a downfall is when vocalists started getting too technical. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the vocalists are technical in a way that's like, they're kind of trying to be like a guitar player would.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
And I'm just like, no.
I feel
don't
like
do that. Don't
that's
do that.
a bit of the side effect of the whole social media thing,
Yeah,
is
yeah.
that there are so many vocal tutorials specifically, like, and everyone's trying to, in screaming, everyone's trying to do a high, a mid, a low, a guttural. Like, they all just kind of go for the same thing.
It used to be like,
And it's homogenizing metal vocals.
like each guy had like a totally different sound, like entirely.
Well, it gets into the thing that I was like saying earlier. That's not like I don't think that everybody should make music.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
For sure.
And I think that there are too many people that are plagiarizing other musicians. You hear the blast beat that everybody stole off the Roddy forums. Ding da da ding da da ding da ding. And it's all like, you have no voice of your own, right?
Yeah.
And then with singing, it's like all these tutorials and everybody, you know, and it's cool and it's good for folks doing it. It's nice that everybody's getting involved. But at the end of the fucking day, if you're not writing a good song, it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter how good you are.
I can't.
Doesn't matter.
And there's so many bad songs. Like, not everyone can write a good.
99%.
Yeah. I just, sometimes I'm just like, can I please hear a good fucking song and not have this just be about the breakdown you're going to play 5 minutes into the song? Like, I want to hear a good, well-crafted song. Right. That's the best part of music. And it's genre spanning. I'm not picky about the kind of music that I listen to. I listen to every genre out there as long as the song is good.
Right. Yeah.
That's all I care about.
And we're going to know really soon, because in 10 years time, when none of these songs are around, when they're not being played, when they're not anything, but they've taken up so much bandwidth, and this is the problem with everything. And it's like, if you can pay to have listeners, which, you know, you can.
Which you can, yes. Everyone should fucking know that. A lot of those Spotify plays you're seeing out there, a lot of those YouTube plays you're seeing, they aren't real.
No.
They are paid for.
And the head of Season of Mist in the U.S., Gordon Conrad, he's a friend, and he's obviously, like, he used to work for Relapse and everything else, and he's a music guy, like a music fucking guy. like a breath of fresh air. Stuff means something to him. He travels to shows. But he laid some shit on me the other night that like completely upended everything and fucked me up. And he's all like, we're talking about digital pennies versus physical dollars.
Yeah.
And he's like, stop. Every one of you guys need to stop chasing Spotify and any of the formats.
So
he's
true.
like, it's fucking pointless.
It's stupid.
Run your Bandcamp up. Sell copies that have a physical sale marker. Sell a song for $1 that you get the dollar.
Yeah, yeah.
Stop worrying about that your band has 50,000 monthly listeners, that it has 100, that it has 200. You know, he's like, that's a foot in the door, but those people generally are never going to buy anything physically.
Or come to shows.
It's just branding.
And they're not coming to
Money.
shows.
Yeah.
Like we've seen bands that have a fuckload of Spotify listeners.
Like in the hundreds of thousands.
Gone to see them at the smallest venue in Nashville. There's like no one there.
About
Right.
3
Well, it's
people.
the TikTok
Okay. Well,
bands. We just
Madison Beer.
beer. I don't know how to say it. Madison beer.
The chick has 17 million monthly listeners, and they just barely sold out a 1,500 cap room.
yeah.
17
it's just
million
the-
monthly fucking
Yeah.
listeners.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
my
her
God.
ton of
17 million.
because it's all
Three
follows
brand new
online
buses. 3 brand new buses though on that tour.
and an 18-wheeler.
I was like,
Holy
God. Here we're in a Sprinter. Over here with some talent
Yeah.
Yeah.
and some integrity.
Yeah.
And this fucking 10-year-old girl's walking out with a doll dress on, getting in a 3 brand new slide out buses, top of the line, the $2.5 million Prevost buses, and I was all like, "Holy shit!"
And she plays like massive festivals and stuff, but I feel like that's kind of different to your obviously your own solo runs.
Oh, absolutely.
But just that, I was just very surprised by that gap. But you're like, oh, you're TikTok thing, like you're an online presence, and so of course you're gonna have the neurotic level of fans that are streaming. You're at that age bracket where they're gonna play your song 25 times in an hour and cry to it hysterically. So it's like the streaming numbers are astronomical, but then it's like the shows are different, and you just I went inside stage and I watched because I was like never been that close to something that was such a
manic
spectacle, like manic hysterical fans, like vomit level screaming and like scream singing the songs back to her, and I was just like, damn, dude, like this is so disturbing. And I still haven't been able to like really, like I'm gonna write like a dissertation to really understand, like I need therapy to understand like my feelings about this show.
Traumatized.
It was just insane, and I look at that and I just wonder for someone like her, like how long, what does your career span like look like, and how nervous are you that it's gets ahead of you or you get replaced? Because you're just in that bracket of like you have to stay that age and you have to stay relevant to that age group forever, and you're not going to. It's like it's like, okay, I'm whatever age, and like what I think is cool shifts to be the old person's idea of what's cool, and the new kids are like Riz and all the words. And it's like eventually like you, by default you age out of that group. And then what becomes of your career? And it just,
I think if you make music that you feel honest about and it's not the flavor of the month, you're good forever. And if you look at the bands I respect a lot that have been around for a long time, there's not that many of them, because like when I was touring in Animosity, like think of all the bands that you toured with like 20 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
It's like
think
how
of
many
every
of them
MySpace
are
band.
here?
Every MySpace band who came out did like that crab headbang.
Yeah, it's all gone. It's all gone.
It's gone.
And they were way big.
They were the hype bands of that time.
Dude, Animosity was like one or two on every tour, and every band was bigger than us. You know, like just passed us up. But they're all bands that you would never even think of now.
Yeah, it's true.
Who ran Animosity?
The singer.
Whenever Insect Warfare was touring with Unholy Grave, 2007.
Okay,
maybe?
that was like towards the end of the band.
It was, and we played Gilman, right?
Okay.
And Animosity had hopped on the Gilman show to pack it out. It was one of those things.
Really?
Oh yeah, for sure. And you guys headline, y'all played right after us, and it was like added on. And
okay.
And even within the band, it was like, hey, look, we know we're this thing, and this is a grindcore show, so whatever. At the end of the show, the singer gave the guarantee to the tour package.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things I was like, holy shit, like that's the fucking nicest thing in the world. And then, you know, they were all like, well, you know, we're from here. It's not a big deal. You guys are on tour. Something. So then Unholy Grave guys were like, holy shit, like, you know, bands do that. Like, it's crazy.
That's amazing.
Bands don't do that.
Yeah, bands don't do that.
But it was really, it was a really cool thing because, you know, it was like
it was my decision, actually.
Yeah, you should have been like, oh, it was me. I ran the band. I made all the monetary decisions.
Yeah. I mean, we were like old school, like came from the hardcore scene. You know,
well, it was cool because obviously we were different paths, and that's probably the first time that we've ever spoken since then. But I remember it because it was I hated the fucking logo and the merchandise. Fully. It was all the pink. And all
you know what?
Dude,
honestly,
people in the band hated it.
We hated it too.
They hated it.
But it sold well, and we were like, whatever.
Well, and I hated it, and then they played, and I was like, holy shit, like, you guys are really fucking good. You were really good back then.
Thank you.
But we got off stage, and you rolled over, and you were like, you gave me a holy shit moment. And I was like, oh, this is neat. Like, I've never even seen these dudes before. I've only seen the band around. And you were like, holy shit, dude, like, that's fucking crazy, because it's super fast music, obviously.
Fuck yeah.
And y'all played and all that happened. Then we left and got in the van, and even the guys were like, you know, like, fuck that whole style of music.
They're not so bad. But
they're really fucking cool guys. And it turned into this whole thing to where they were like, man, and even Bo and everybody had remembered that for like 20 years.
That's amazing.
Well, honestly, that's what I can say about the band is we were like a straight up, honest, fucking cool band, you know? And it's like we did our thing. We had, the merch was neon, which was kind of embarrassing, but it's like, we just did our thing, and I like to say that we were original. You know, there wasn't bands like us, and
you guys were.
So I'm proud of it.
It was good. Like that was at the beginning of the politics of the scene. Where it was all like, oh well, who are these guys? Like they if you don't look at them, they sound the way, but when you see them, they don't look the way.
Oh yeah.
And it was at the beginning to where there wasn't a lot of that, and now there's a ton of that, and people have like there's a despondency to it.
Well, we used to do like straight up death metal tours. Yeah. So I mean, how do you think that went down? When we were like little kids, we used to get fucking hassled, dude, on the tour. But after we would play, people would be like, okay, you know, you're I mean, I can't like say on the podcast what people would say about us, but
you guys are legit, you know.
Like, you guys got up there, but you know what? You're pretty good for a couple of, like, you know, not going to say the derogatory word. But it was just, I don't know, different time. I mean, I think about that time and now, and it's like, they both had different qualities to them. You know what I mean? And it's like, there's always going to be something that bugs you. I just think these days, everything is so much more everything.
Yeah.
So if there's something that's kind of shitty, it's like in your face all the fucking time.
More is more.
Yeah.
So it's just like one of those things you have to kind of remember who you are and just like do that, you know. And I think you'll always be good if you do that.
That's definitely where the space I'm trying to navigate and like figure out. It's like, am I doing this because I want to do it, or am I doing it because I feel like it's what I'm like supposed to do, have to do. And what is it? Comparison is the killer of joy.
Yes.
And you go online and it's like, oh, well, this chick has all these views and she made this video and she looks like this, and I go on there and I'm like, squid squab, and I feel all dumb, and so then I'm like, well, I'm not posting anything. It's like I have 1,000 drafts saved of videos that like just never get put up, and I'll watch them and be like, this would be good.
Yeah, Chaney was like that, and I was like, dude, you have to post these. Like, we are posting this.
Well, you know what honestly did it was 2020, because in COVID, like, we used to be a full band. Our band used to be a full band. In 2020, we were like, this, you know, people kept quitting, and we were just like, it's not like going the way we want as a full band. We're taking this back, and we're going to be a 2-person band, and we're going to just take this time at home. We're going to start posting on the internet and see if anything happens, because we like our
dude. What else are we going to do?
We were honestly pretty damn close to like giving up, just because it's hard to keep touring. It's hard to keep doing this. It can be it can be like a killer of the joy of making music, to be a part of the music industry. It's a very different monster than just doing something because you enjoy it.
Devastating.
So we started making the videos just because we were at home during 2020, and somehow they started, like, people started sharing them and they started doing well, and that's helped our band greatly. But before 2020,
we never did anything.
We were anti that shit. Like, we were not trying to be about it at all.
Yeah.
So
that's, I mean,
so we very much understand where you guys are coming from with it because we've been there just as
100%.
much as what you're saying.
But we need it. We need more real people to be out there, man.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but it's also hard to. There are a lot of other obstacles. If you look at the metrics on it, and you'll say a band in metal, right? A band in metal, and we'll start with 100 fans, so we can say the 100 percentile thing. And then if you say, well, it's got a girl in it, and so then we're going to chop it down to about 30% approval rating, right? And it kind of depends. And something that's a little more brutal, like have you gotten much flack at all, or has it been nothing but support with you going into clean singing more?
People have been surprisingly supportive.
Right.
And I don't know why that happened. Maybe it's because we haven't had like one album that was like our fucking blow up explosion album.
Yeah.
We've always been a weird prog band. So I think that it almost was kind of expected for me to go that way. I don't know if like we kind of put out just a rock song.
Yeah,
like
we
a
actually
verse, chorus,
wrote
verse.
this song. I wrote it, and we were gonna maybe do like another band.
Yeah,
And
we wanted to start it because we were so unhappy being in a band with. That's like what was the catalyst for the 2020.
So we were like, let's just make this fucking weird. It's like the first song that had singing. It's kind of like a dark, like I don't know, weird rock song.
Yeah.
And we were like, man, this is actually pretty sick.
Yeah,
you know?
we
And
were
then like
stoked.
Chaney sang over it, and we were like Chaney literally like started crying, like this is gonna be we're like this is so sick. But we were actually, it's funny because it's like the opposite. Most people add in the singing thinking it's going to make their band bigger. We were like, this is going to crash our band.
I thought
like,
it was
this
going to
is
make everyone hate our band.
Yeah, we were like, we're pretty much screwed after we
our
released
manager
this.
even had to talk me off of a ledge. I was like, because they wanted us to put that song out to be the song that we announced our album with.
And we were
And
like,
I
we
was
can't
just
do that. Are you
yeah,
kidding me?
I remember I was on a phone call with him like, I can't do this. People are going to freak out and hate our band, and we're not going to sell any albums now, like for sure.
But I was like, it's clear that we made this song because we think it's cool. It's not like we're trying to be big, making a singing song, because the song is still kind of weird and dark.
Yeah.
And so that's where my influences come from. Like I listen in my off time, I'm listening to like, Emma Ruth Rundle and Chelsea Wolfe and Marissa Nadler, like doomy, like singy stuff, you guys. And that's where my heart is. Like I love singing, and I always have sang. I sang before I was a screamer. So it just felt natural for me to put it into the band. I've always wanted to do that. And maybe that's a part of why people have been accepting of
I don't know.
it. Because like he's saying, we don't give we're not trying to be famous. We play death metal. We know that we're not going to be the biggest band
And
in
even
the world.
that, it's like, even people who really like death metal don't like us because it's weird.
Yeah,
so
because
it's
we're
like,
too weird.
we've pretty much successfully made it so no one can like us. But like it's
But,
starting to
like
work out, and then we put that song out, and a lot of people liked it. It's like our biggest song. So I'm like, all right, well, fuck, I guess we can just, I think we've established that we can just like do whatever we want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You get that permission, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So we're like, hey, that's fucking pretty cool.
But what do y'all feel about the fan base growth?
I feel like it's helped.
Yeah, it's helped for sure.
But do you see, are the numbers are not, they're usually never going to be like huge. You don't like put a song out and you jump up
Oh, yeah.
X 10,000, 50,000. Like you'll get the flood of the initial release, and they'll have people that listens, and then it goes back down.
Of course.
It's like, how do you approach growing the fan base? Like what are the plans?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, I guess, do you think about it like that? Or
Yeah, I mean, we are
plan for
on, like, if you ask me, it's like the slow and steady approach. So
Yeah, that's
we
what we...
make music that we feel is good. That's like number one. Because let's face it, like when we're 80 or whatever, you're not going to look back and be like, wow, that was sick that I was famous. You're going to, for me personally, I want to die and be like, I made a bunch of good music.
Yeah, I want to be proud of the...
You know? So I always want to make sure that whatever I'm making, I feel solid about. And because otherwise I won't be able to stand behind it.
Yeah.
So that's like number one. And then after that, we've found what works for the band. So like we know the type of like video that works. Like Chaney's vocal videos do really well, and like my drum videos kind of help and stuff like that. And then we make music videos, and what's actually really helped is Sirius XM, like the Jose Mangan Liquid Metal. Like he started playing that song that had the singing on it, and like that really helped us a lot. Like straight up.
Yeah. So I mean, when we
And then doing the tours.
I wouldn't say
course.
that we ever focus on like how we're going to grow. I mean, you kind of do and you don't, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's something that's
You have to for longevity.
Yeah, of
it's
course.
like in the peripheral, I guess, but there's not like a game plan of this is how we're going to get 1 million fans.
Yeah.
Because it never works like that.
Yeah.
We don't think like, what's our next viral? Like we've
No.
had viral moments, you know, but it's like, oh, that's cool.
You're not
Right.
chasing them.
It's
or
not like,
planning them.
yeah. I mean, we'd be doing the same exact thing if none of that happened.
Well, is there a next step for you guys, like beyond ENTHEOS? Like, is there a plan? Do you have like just because he's the writer, of the, you know, it's like, do you in 5 years? Is there another musical entity that you guys are going to try to break into? Is there something like, when I turn X amount of years old, I want to like start working on another style of music. I want to, you know, it's like, is there thought about that?
Well, I think there's always just the nature of who the both of us are. Like, we're kind of like you guys. You're doing a solo project. You've got 1 million different bands. Like, I also want to do a solo project. I have like the Knife. I don't know if you're familiar with the Knife, like type electro project that I'm doing. So we always like have ideas to do things like that. But really, we are mainly just like, we're both really happy in ENTHEOS. We fucking love doing it. And because it's something that we work on together, we can kind of take it anywhere.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like in this band we're limited to just being a metal band. Luckily now we've moved. So I think we can kind of, I don't feel like we're in this box where we have to do this thing and we can't have our whole musical existence satiated by this band, so we need to break out and do
I
other
feel like
things.
like right now we're still not at a point where it's like, okay, we're comfortable, you know, we're like on a bus and like I open the mailbox and there's like a check and like, you know, that's not a thing, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, it for me personally, it doesn't make sense to start like dedicating energy to side projects. So I think me and Cheney both just, if there's something that we're thinking of that we want to do, we'll just figure out a way to like incorporate it into ENTHEOS' music.
Yeah.
For now. But I mean, another thing is, you know, we are a couple and we live together, so it's like, you know, it's
perfect though.
Yeah, it's like we're always just like, hey, this would be cool. Let's do this, that, or the other thing.
Well, you know, this has also got me thinking. Like another figure in our band is our manager, Steve Davis, who he is very much not like a flavor of the month type manager. Yeah. He's a career. He manages bands with careers, so he's never been focused. Like from the business side of our band, it's never been like, you guys got to make a fucking hit, otherwise it's over for you. Like he's since the beginning.
He's like super anti all that.
Yeah, he's anti all of that. So since the beginning, he's been like, you guys, it's slow and steady wins the race. Like that's how we're going to have you guys living off of your band and having a career for the rest of your lives. That's what he cares about. Yeah. He doesn't care about this immediate money because he knows that there's not always immediate money in this type of music.
Yeah. And he's always saying the same thing that the guy from Seasons of Mist said, like, don't get caught up in the numbers. Just do your thing. And, you know, it has been, I guess, frustrating at times for us because we're like, what the fuck is going on? But it's like, you know, at this point now, like we've already seen how many bands come and go. Right. And we've only been a band for like 9 years. Yeah, so it's like we've already seen a ton of bands that came out and were way bigger than us and they disappeared.
Who are getting all the tours immediately and then they're just not bands anymore.
And but like meanwhile, it's
I hate that.
Yeah.
I fucking hate
that. It's annoying. It's like you could have put us on that fucking tour, dude. We're a good band, you know?
Greg Wells.
Giving away the guarantees.
Really famous producer. Greg Wells, who works with like Adele and a lot of other people, but incredible producer, musician guy. He went on a fucking rant, an absolute rant about space takers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, don't sign the contract. Don't do this. Don't do any of these things because you're wasting precious commodity value in every single thing that people that want to be here. And if you're just going to be a placeholder and you're going to be here for 5 years and then buzz off because you've had your fun, then fuck off and don't do it in the first place. You know, it's like, seriously, this is a committed world, and you know, because we sit on like exact circumstances, right? We're married. You guys are together. live
It's
together, do
actually
the thing.
shocking, the parallels.
Yeah, it
It's
really
like crazy.
is. I know.
You do it, and then your disposition is a more positive one than ours. Ours is, for real, ours is
Only
like,
because we had to turn it around.
Yeah, you gotta
That's
turn
the
it
only
around.
reason
Turn it
I
around.
see so much of us in you guys.
Yeah.
yeah, but we have the similar circumstances and different musical paths.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
with us, like the suffrage is the fact that I obviously know the underground side of stuff.
Yeah.
That part of the musical world is infinitely easier for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
So when I see that, I'm all like, tours are easy. Notoriety is all great. All the things that feed the mechanism to continue on. And then when we got into this world, it's all like everything has been, even as much as we've done, everything has been so fucking difficult.
Yeah.
Really?
To where it's like, it stamps out, you just have to suffer through it to get to the next level. And that's where the fun is like, it's hard to, we make songs that are emotionally like jarring.
Mm-hmm.
We make music that people like deeply connect to, and they send, she doesn't get dick pics. She gets, holy shit, my dad died of cancer. I've done this whole thing, and I almost killed myself, and like these songs, and like, tell me about these lyrical lines, and what does that mean? Does that mean what I think it means? And that's what her inbox is full of.
Yeah.
And it's all like, well, that part's amazing.
Yes.
It's amazing to meet those people, and we have those types of connections, and we have instantaneous connections like that. But then at the end of the day, it's still like crazy fucking difficult with her in this genre of music to make anything like stick, because we need longevity too. We have it,
I absolutely think so.
but we can't get tours like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we've got numbers, we've got every single number that works.
Mm-hmm.
Agents won't pick up on the band. Everything has been like trial by fucking fire. Like I have to fucking hustle to get every single little thing happening.
Channing,
No,
this guy,
it's
he's saying
been-
our band. Like
Literally,
everything
that's-
we get, it's like, fuck, we had to fight to
Yeah,
get
we
that,
had to fight.
dude.
Yeah.
It's a fight, and it can like knock you down. It can seriously kill.
It's a shitty industry. It's a
Yeah.
horribly
Yeah.
self-deprecating industry.
And that's why it's like I don't feel like I never feel like I belong anywhere. But it's
Yeah,
like
of
I feel like I just have my backpack on at all times
Mm-hmm.
for this band.
Yeah, 100%.
To where it's like, do we live here? I don't know if we live here, and
Yeah.
keep the backpack on.
Yeah, it's been a fight for sure. And I think it's even harder when, like, I've noticed, because we started this band when I was turning 30.
Yeah.
And I'd already been in a couple touring bands. Like, I'd already done all the stuff. But I think when you do that stuff when you're like in your early 20s, you don't notice the bullshit as much because you're just stoked to be there.
Of course.
Yeah.
You know? And so when you're like 30 and you're like, okay, I'm trying to get back to where that was, it's like the allure isn't as there as much. And so you're more aware of like where are we at right now. You know, like when I was in Animosity or even Animals as leaders or anything like that, I was just stoked to be there. I didn't fucking care. I never thought like, are we big? How much shirts do we sell? Like it just didn't occur to me. I didn't care.
All of that stuff, even though you were in a different place then, it's like Spotify. Now everyone can see all of
way
this
more
shit.
metrics.
Like I actually think that's that's extremely detrimental. The fact that everyone can go and see Spotify numbers.
Yeah.
And if you talk to people who are like a little less down to earth, let's be real, that all they fucking talk about are Spotify numbers. They'll be like, dude, I'm working with this band and they have like this many, and I don't care about that shit. So I hate hearing that.
Yeah.
And I really think that that's not a good thing to have all of the numbers. Like maybe Spotify should hide it.
They should hide it.
the
Because
numbers.
it makes it
They
a
should hide it.
comparison by default,
At
and
100.
then you have like the tastemakers and the people that think they're doing something. I think it's getting to a point where it's starting to like burn out, or people are getting more wise to it. That they see
100%.
like that because they're realizing everything is bought.
Yeah.
Everything is bought. Like any artist of whatever level is almost guaranteed to be running ads.
Yep.
And it's not like the fans aren't real fans, but you're like, we all have to pay a certain amount to even get in front of them because of the way that social media works and these platform works. It's nothing derogatory towards your band if you have to run ads. It's literally like the whole industry's become pay to play.
Yeah.
100%.
And so now people are realizing like, oh, well, you can just have someone that runs a bajillion ads and they're like almost spam level, like you're seeing them on your feed and everybody likes them.
Yeah.
And then, but that doesn't tell you anything about the band's longevity or even the band's real popularity. It just means they have money behind them.
Yep.
Yes.
And so I think people are kind of getting wise to that, to where they're like, oh, well, maybe I should just like what I like,
Well,
not,
but it's,
not like based on numbers.
it goes back to the cyclical thing, that
Yeah.
we all knew that this was going to come back around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1000%.
And we went through a whole phase of time to where the vapid vanity world of social media and all that, because it's beneficial. We know this. We do know this.
Yeah.
But then we also, like, there's going to be an uprising and an
Of course.
That's how it
social
is.
media world, and it's going to come soon. We don't know when, but if extreme noise and all that stuff has a genre and a place, right? People go to noise shows. The Ryusuke guy beats on the snare
Yeah,
drum
yeah.
and flops around.
Guy annoys me.
Yes.
I know. It's
I'm like,
annoying.
dude, stop doing that.
But it's performance art, and you see that, and you're like, there's fucking people at the thing.
You're
Yeah.
like, I mean, it's cool. I'm just.
It's not.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not cool. And we don't have to you don't have to maintain space for all these people to do this shit. It's all like, dude, that's fucking noise and it's
Yeah, yeah.
stupid.
Yeah.
You look dumb. Like,
You look dumb.
Quit, man.
Yeah, you like.
But then when you see the latte guy over there, and he's like taking it in, and you're all like, you look fucking dumb too, man. What's wrong with you, man? That's why you ain't got no friends. You know what I'm saying? And so then you're like, it's just a war, and
It is.
then
It is
you
a war.
see, it's like the Emma Ruth Rundles of the world, right? There's a lot of advertising dollars behind that. There's a lot of if you feel your product, your music, and everything is worth it, then you still have to play that game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. So she's good at what she does.
Yeah.
She's gonna stick.
Yeah.
But the others that have come and tried to do the same thing, they don't stick.
Yeah.
They make a splash. People go to the shows a little bit, but then they die off completely. And that's what we're fighting.
Yep.
Is that the integrity of music has been like attacked and drugged down.
Yeah.
And when we started wrapping buses with Guitar Center crap for the Necrophagist tour,
Yeah.
and it's not that Necrophagist didn't stick around and has a legacy, they do, but it supercharged the type of fan that is here today, gone tomorrow.
Yeah.
Drummers aren't amazing drummer, cool. What's the band sound?
I know.
What's the song?
That was seriously always my thing. It's like, dude, I only do this shit on drums to put it into music.
Right.
I'm not just doing it to do it.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't care about that.
I fucking hate it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
hate that.
So that was always my thing. Like, it still is. I mean, if I learn something, like when you see me play drums, I'm doing everything I know how to do. Like, I'm not like, it's not something I know how to do, like I learned how to do it just to do it. Like, no, I'm like, it's as soon as I learn something or I hear something in my head, I learn how to do it, and then boom, I'm using it.
Practical application.
100%.
You're learning it to use it in the context
100%.
of creation.
Yeah.
But it's like, who's your favorite singer at the moment? What's your go-to that breaks you down music?
There's a lot. Usually, like, the thing that I always go back to is Joni Mitchell. Like, Joni Mitchell is just,
course.
she's just one of the best singers. But my favorite singer at the moment, I don't know. I always like go back and forth with stuff. But what I will say, the most recent thing, we saw the Postal Service and Death Cab a couple of weeks ago. And so I've been revisiting that era of my life.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I like to go, there are some people I'll go and see them live and I loved them before. And then I'm never listening to the band ever again because of the vibe that I got live. And that happened to me this year. I won't say with who, but
We'll say off camera.
yeah, with Death Cab and the Postal Service, seeing them again, I fucking cried at that show. Like, those albums meant a lot to me when I was a kid. So I'm revisiting Ben Gibbard and going through all of that again.
But that's what's funny is that the link between nostalgia and then the delivery of a great song, because they, it's like a core memory, right? And so then if we have such a listener base that like isn't building that now, it's 10-second clips, it's all these things.
Yeah.
It's inspiring because you go see somebody like that. So Death Cab's been around for a very fucking long time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And still amazing.
They're pros.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So good.
absolute pros.
And it's so nice to see professional musicians making music and being that. And I watched Steve Lukather talk about pulling away from social media because he did a solo at a charity gig. He stepped up and played in there, and he played some wrong notes, and like the internet went crazy on him. And he's all like, "Fuck this! Like, I'm not playing these games with you guys. I'm fucking Steve Lukather. Like, what the fuck am I supposed to do?" And so he's like, yeah, I'm pulling away from social media because I'm not trying to be judged like that, because everybody's looking for perfect, but nobody's listening to the Death Cab for Cutie songs, or nobody's listening to a multitude of things. And I'm a huge Nick Cave fan.
Oh, yeah, I love Nick Cave's great.
Yeah, and so like the depth of that kind of music is what I'm looking for. I want songs that have a meaning. I want storytelling. And the stuff that Cammie likes and loves is vast, but she's like, what are your...
Yeah, I was going to ask.
Yeah, what are your things right now? Because they
I
change.
love Yeba.
Yeah.
I don't even...
She's
Wait, is she new?
ish.
No.
Not really, but
She
she's
YouTubed it up for a long time.
Oh, okay.
she's gotten big recently, but she's been around a while.
She's a neo soul, modern. She's fucking bad.
She's from
Great songwriter,
yeah,
phenomenal fucking technical singer.
Oh,
to
that's
check it out.
awesome.
lots of runs and just crazy flexibility with her voice.
That's awesome.
Felt like super heartfelt. I mean, I always go back to Mark Lanigan, and Chris Cornell.
She's
Oh, yeah, Chris Cornell's one of the best voices.
I love just,
amazing
like-
the amount of grunge this
Dude,
person.
I'm so grunge. I'm also
So
very
grunge.
into... Do you like
It's
the
so-
Jesus and Mary chain type stuff? Or
She hasn't listened to a lot of that.
that's a little older. It's kind of like a precursor 80s type.
There's so much soul. You know, I like voices that sound vulnerable, that sound like they're going through something and are conveying that experience. It's like you're living that moment with them.
Yeah.
And so that's what I like. Because I feel, well, Luther Vandross is like the same way, but he's like more polished.
Mm-hmm.
And in what they put out, I think, for that like time. Obviously, was he around now, I think he'd make incredible but very different songs.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I find a lot of the time a lot of my favorite voices are people who wouldn't even necessarily be like good singers
Right.
outside
Yeah,
of
yeah.
the band. Like Karen
Fully.
Dreyer from The Knife and Fever Ray, one of my favorite singers of all time, only fits a weird style of music. You know, like she couldn't sing Silent Night and portray it in the right way. I think she wouldn't sing like a classic song and do
Well,
it
it's
well.
like
But
Hosier.
Oh, yeah.
We watch the show and they like give a word and you have to sing a song with that word in it, and other people sing the song like the person whose song it is, but Hosier made every song to sound like his.
That's awesome.
So like
that's
I
love
can't even
that.
tell what song it is because he sings it like he changes the key and everything. I'm like, what the hell?
Dude, I love stuff. I love covers like that. Like sometimes people will cover songs and they'll just make them sound exactly like the song originally sounded.
Mm-mm.
But the beauty of a cover is putting your own spin on the song. That's what
Yeah.
it's about.
Yeah, I feel like because we do a lot of covers and it's like I like to research, you know, a little bit about what the singer or the band was going through when they wrote the song, and then you tie it to your experience that's similar, and then you do the cover.
Yeah.
Versus like I'm just gonna sound like them, because when people ask me, they're like, "What are your influences for your voice?" I always like I can tell them stuff. I have the script,
Yeah.
but I'm like I don't fucking sound like those people. Like,
Yeah, I know.
how am I gonna sound like them?
Well, I think it's also like for me, every voice I hear, if I hear something good in that voice, that's an influence for me.
Mm-hmm.
So to go through and name like 5,000 singers that have influenced me, it's like I can't narrow it down.
I feel like it's more like they inspired me to want to sing versus influence me. It's like
Yeah.
I didn't learn to. It's like if I played an instrument, sure, it maybe like I can play like them because I'm touching a thing and I made the same sound.
Yeah.
But it's like I don't talk like them. I'm not like
yeah,
like,
totally.
I'm Mark Lanigan now.
Absolutely.
Like it just
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense to me vocally. It's like, yeah, they inspired me to sing because it's like, wow, look at how they make me feel. I want to make people feel like that.
Yes.
But it's not the same as like
But
they didn't teach me to sing.
Right.
I don't know.
100%.
It's
Yeah.
through your filter, though, and that's what's amazing. You know,
Yeah.
Like Nate Smith, the drummer. Nate Smith and the Fam and all that. He's a crazy fucking like jazz and
Okay.
funk drummer, like R&B drummer. But he said when he went to Berkeley that his teacher said that your inspiration and where you come from is on the shelf behind you and the records that you have.
Yeah.
It's what you read. It's what you listen to. It's not all the technical shit. Like, you're here already. You know how to play drums, you know. Dave DeCenso, have you ever heard of Dave DeCenso?
Mm-mm.
He's a staff teacher for Berkeley, but he played with Josh Groban and the Cro-Mags and everybody.
Oh, wow.
He's probably the best drummer in America by far. He's fucking insane.
I'll have to check him out.
Purely from a facility side, he's insane. For delivery method on how he's linked here and here, he's above everybody.
Awesome.
It's just natural, and he's fucking insane. But Charlie Corrin is taking lessons with Dave, and a lot of guys in the metal world are reaching out to people like Dave. And we hung out in San Diego, and he said, I started taking lessons with Dave DeCenso, a couple of lessons, and he was telling me that you need to write an essay on water and the flow of water. And he's like, oh, it's so weird. Like, why is he doing that? And I was like, because you're not contacting Dave DeCenso to teach you how to play drums.
Yeah.
You're contacting Dave DeCenso to link these hands with this part of your body and this, and how we get out of the way of each other.
Yeah.
And then Charlie was like, holy shit, like, yeah, that makes sense. And I felt like it was more of a philosophical approach to playing. And that's when, you get guys with enough time on earth.
Yeah.
We know how to play already.
Totally.
We have to figure out ways to display this and to not mimic and to use our filter. And it's the same thing with Cammie, is that whenever you're naturally like as fucking talented as Cammie is, Cammie's a better fucking singer than anybody I know in the U.S. And I follow fucking singers. Russell Allen, she's Russell Allen level. Symphony X. She's nuts. You see her tonight.
Hell yeah.
No, I'm excited.
As long as she's on,
Yeah.
she's on always.
Well, I was out of curiosity, you asked us about how we approach the fan the next 5 years. How do you guys look at that?
Yeah.
Leaving.
Every other day, I threaten to
Not
quit.
doing it.
Yeah.
Just
not
being
doing
done.
it. Just moving away from the eye of everything. It's like I'm tired of being like looked at and needed in that way. My goal is to land a record deal with Deutsche Grammophon or somebody. I want to make piano music and chamber music and stuff like that.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's what I want to do. We have, I write her solo stuff too, and it's all Portishead.
Oh,
We
yeah.
named it my thing, but it's our thing. We just gave it a
That's
name versus making it a band
exactly
because
what
it's
we would
easier.
do.
It's easier to. I feel like there's a lot more expansiveness that's allowed. If I just say, especially as a female artist, it's like it's Cammie Beverly, and it's like I'm country today, or like no, I'm grunge. Like people are just like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Yes.
Just sing the songs. Versus it's like if it's a band, people expect it to fit so hardcore into a genre.
Why is that a thing?
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's an expectation that's different. There's an expectation out of her that's different, and it's like things that we get into sometimes, and things.
I think it's the same reason. Like a guy can get away with wearing the same clothes all the time,
But we cannot.
but I have to have a wardrobe for every season.
I think
and
about
every day
that.
of season.
Like every day. Every day I have to curl my hair. I have to put on my fucking eyelashes, my makeup, make sure that I'm looking like popping off. My outfit has to be different. Guys get to just, all my bandmates get to just like throw on a
Show
black t-shirt. Yeah.
brush their hair.
Don't even have to smell good. Like no one gives a fuck.
But there's so much more criticism for the moment that you walk in front of the camera on stage.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And that some dude gets to go on there and be like, oh, she looks like there's some changes in her body. Like, there's some
I've heard the worst. Not even about me. I've heard people. You guys, Eleron did your guys' art. Eleron Cantor. So we were talking when we met in Germany, and Eleron was like, yeah, I went and saw a popular female vocalist of a metal band the other day, and all my friend could talk about the entire time was how she looked fatter than the last time that she was on stage.
Right.
No one cares if a guy gains weight, loses weight, but women are for some reason put under this microscope of like our looks have to be.
That's my favorite feedback.
Because
I
you're
love,
only.
Yeah.
I love people noticing.
You're only consuming.
My weight.
Thank you.
Yeah,
It is my
you.
favorite
Your-
part
Yeah.
of the internet.
Your novelty is being consumed by the male eye, and that's what's so fucking dastardly about this whole thing.
It sucks,
Yeah.
man.
I
Well, it
hate
goes back to why I don't like putting myself out there any more than I already do with the music videos and the videos I have to make, because every time I do that, I'm opening myself up to criticism.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like there's a disparity in what in how people look at it, to where like, yeah, you're an artist and you should be able to, it's like, I can take feedback. Like, do I need criticism all the time about things that have nothing to do with my fucking art? Like, no. Like, you telling me I look 10 pounds chubbier, like, thank you, let me put that in a fucking song. Like, what do you want me to do with that?
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not helping. And we're in a place where artists and public entities get so much feedback and criticism that didn't exist before.
Yeah.
You were going to show up to my show with a sign that says you suck. It's like, no, you just wouldn't be there. But now it's like every time I post something, I have to open myself up to a barrage of things. And then on the flip side, it's like, I don't like just being told constantly, oh, you're an amazing singer. Oh, you're so pretty.
Yeah,
it's like, it doesn't do anything for me either.
Yeah.
It makes me equally as self-conscious. Because
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, well, you think, you know, the other day we get out of the fucking van. We've been in the van. Like, what do you expect me to look like when we show up to the venue? And it's like, you'll understand, okay, if someone sees you in makeup all the time, or they see you in your curated pictures and you show up looking normal, you look really tired.
Yep.
And you look like shit. Are you okay? And you're like,
Thank
this
you
is
for
just
that.
what I look like, but you wouldn't fucking know because I have to put on all this extra. And it's like that stuff like chips at me. I don't care for it. It's like, I don't want all that feedback.
I agree. The other day I did one of those question and answer things on Instagram, and I was answering some of the questions without makeup on because I don't wear makeup all the time. I know it's fucking crazy. Yeah. And I know the person, he is a fan. He meant nothing by it, but he was like, oh, I've never seen you without makeup on. It's really weird. Nothing bad, but it's weird to see you without makeup on. And it's like, yeah, dude, I'm just a normal person.
You have a face,
I have a face. I was born without makeup. It's insane.
I came out of the womb with these eyelashes. Wouldn't believe it.
I know.
Doctor was all, wow.
But those type of things, like, those are things that we have to hear. Women have to hear that shit all the time, constantly, and more so now because of the internet. And it can deter people from wanting to put themselves out there.
I think it's a huge reason why originally you didn't see a whole lot of women in metal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
It's an aspect I didn't think of when I joined the band. I thought like, okay, I'm going to join this metal band and I get to be extreme and do whatever I want and be wild. And it's like, I've almost had to be girlier than I've ever been my entire life to be in this genre. And it bothers me deeply. And but it's like, I'll deal with it.
Yeah. So before you joined Oceans, were you were into metal, but you just had never really played in metal bands before?
Yeah, I had no interest in like being in a band. Like I was in a band for fun, and the band was like, we're gonna get discovered or whatever. I could care less. It's like I really just wanted to sing.
Yeah.
Like I just wanted to get in front of people and sing. And my band was opening for Oceans at another show, and it was the old lead singer, and he heard me warming up, or a friend of his heard me warming up in the parking lot because I like the acoustics in the alleyway or whatever. And then he's like, you know, come do some duets with us or be around. You're very talented. Which I'm like, how could you hear that? Because my band would play so fast because they got nervous, and I had no in-ears, and I was like rushing. Yeah.
Well,
so I'm like, oh.
Yeah, but you're not just, it wasn't just like, oh, this chick can sing. It was immediately like I mean, fuck, I know what the fuck I'm listening for, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So then I hear her coming around the corner, and I was like, holy shit, stop what you're doing. Like, you're wasting your fucking time. Like, let's do something real because you're that good. And she's all like, oh, I'm so good. Like, yeah. But she was,
Another parallel to us.
Yeah, we also met because my band was opening for his band.
Yeah.
Alternate
That's
universe
wild,
here.
yes.
Crazy.
And
Broken the rift.
Yeah, it's
Crazy.
insane.
But you guys got to go, man.
We gotta go.
Yeah. I feel like we could probably chat
I know. I
for
feel like
another
we're
5
gonna have
hours.
to do another one of
Yeah,
these,
we're
you
gonna have to
guys,
do another
because
one. We need
that
more
was
hangs.
we really do. That was fucking awesome, and it's great too. No one knows this, but this is the first time we've ever hung out. So
Yeah.
I'm so. It was
And
great.
the first
to speak.
couple we've had on the podcast.
First couple
Nice.
we've had on the podcast.
Cool.
And
I love it.
so you guys you haven't announced your new release yet or anything?
Not
Okay.
until June. June 12th is when all the pre-order stuff
Yeah, we
starts.
pretty much didn't
Looking
talk
forward
about
to it.
like the band at all.
Yeah. Well,
It's okay.
everyone should check out the new Oceans of Slumber single because it's amazing. I can't wait to hear the rest of the album and everything else that you guys did in Brazil. So congratulations on all of the stuff.
Oh yeah, thanks a lot
Put
for
out
coming
some
by,
vids.
you guys.
Yeah, thank
I know
you
it's
so
hard to
much.
make time on tour, so
Yeah.
Appreciate
We
it.
appreciate you
Well, it
very
was fun.
much.
Thank you for having
Yeah.
us.
Hell
thank
yeah.
you
All
so
right,
much.
I'm looking forward to seeing you guys tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, peace, everybody. We'll see you guys next week.
Love y'all.